Hello and welcome to another edition of Burnout Avenue. I'm Zach Patton, alongside me my co-host Josh Neal. Josh, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. You definitely cannot complain coming off a Saturday night race at Kansas, especially it being Mother's Day weekend. It was just a great weekend all the way around with the mother and with some Saturday night racing.
Yep. What a race. That last stage, the third stage in that race, probably the best racing we've had all year. Now, is it debatable if that was the best race of the year? I think so. Darrell Waltrip said that was the best race of the year. I will say it is third behind Talladega and Bristol, but I will say at third stage was probably the best stage of the year. So take that as if you – or take it however you want to, but it was a great race. We're not going to complain about it, especially at a mile and a half. We sit here and criticize the mile and a half tracks. We want rid of them. We put more short tracks, take away mile and a halves. We had a great race. I rated it B+ on Twitter. Got a lot of feedback. Also wanted to know what my A rating would be. I think people think I'm a little bit critical, but it is what it is. That a B+ is basically an A. Like I said,
no, a B+ is a B+. It's not an A.
Yeah, but it was the first stage. It started out slow. I think you'll get to that in a second. But the first stage, I was just sitting there thinking, well, nobody's going to stop Kevin Harvick, and the lights start kicking on at the track. First stage ends, second stage begins. It's starting to get dark, and what happens? Chase Elliott appears. Wow, these Hendrick boys are doing something. Jimmy Johnson's back there in 20th, and
You criticize them. You criticize Jimmy Johnson all night.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But I mean, it was crazy. Kevin Harvick started to fade a little bit. Chase Elliott took over, and the rest was history until the third stage. What was your thoughts on the first and second stages? Because, we can sit here all day and say it was an A race, but I'm not giving it an A because the first and second stages were just a little bit slow. I'm not going to say they were horrible, but what was your thoughts on the first and second stage?
I mean, it's slow in my opinion, and it's going to happen. When you come to a night race that you're starting out during the day, it's not about necessarily how good you do during those stages, the early stages where it's still light out. The game, when it is a night race, is being able to keep up with the changes on the track. The track goes through a severe change once the sun comes out, once the sun starts setting and the shadows gets on the track. I mean, the track temperature drops significantly. So the name of the game is being able to make changes to keep up with the track conditions, and Kevin Harvick could not do that. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, those were the guys that were able to make the proper changes to make their car the fastest after those changes occurred. And that's why they were up front.
Yeah, so let's talk about that third stage here. First and second stages, like you said, doesn't really matter, but whenever the lights kick on and the night begins is when it matters. So at the beginning of stage 3, it looked like Kevin Harvick had, the car to beat, and it didn't look like anyone was going to come close. Well, guess what? He was leading, following a pit stop, and he had like a 2 or 3 second lead over Chase Elliott, I think. And what happens? A tear-off gets stuck on his grill. They complained about having a loose wheel, maybe the right front, right rear, one of those. And they come to pit road. It comes out a couple minutes later that there was no problems with the right side of the car. The tires looked fine. And, it's kind of crazy. You'd thought that, seeing that big piece of plastic tear off, whatever you want to call it, that they would maybe get behind another person. They had Clint Boyer up there. Maybe get behind him and try to get that off. But obviously, a loose wheel's nothing to play with, especially at a mile and a half track. So after that, it started opening up. And what happened then? Alex Bowman appears again, the third week in a row. He goes on to lead well, behind Kevin Harvick, he led 63 laps in the race. I honestly thought he was going to win the race there at one point, but Brad Keselowski just had too good of a car. While we're talking about Bowman, talk about him. How impressive is it to have three? I mean, you could argue and say it's kind of hard to come in come in second 3 straight weeks. That could be possibly harder than winning 3 straight weeks.
No, I think you're right. It definitely shows that maybe this Hendrick group is on the up and up, or at least the 88 camp. I mean, this is 2 or 3 straight weekends where the 24, the 88, and the 9 teams have all looked really good, and they really did need it. But I would have not expected the 88 to have 2 or 3 straight second place finishes. I just wouldn't expect it. That just shows how on the edge, how close I think that 88 team is to getting a win. And they very well could have won this race. They were in contention to win this race until that last caution came out.
Yeah, I mean, 3 straight weeks, obviously Talladega, you can say it is what it is because it's not really it's kind of Talladega is just different. And
you still got to have you still have to have a good car and win at Talladega. I mean, when it comes down to it, you still have to have a good car.
Yeah. And the last 2 weeks, I think that's what's really impressive because I would have never expected Alex Bowman to be around the top. We've seen Chase Elliott, and at a time I thought Chase Elliott was going to do what Alex Bowman. I mean, Chase Elliott led 45 laps. Alex Bowman led 63. Let's just go ahead and recap Hendrick. William Byron was in the top 10 most of the night. And here was Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was 20th, 25th. But what happens is, on that, so they stayed out, everyone else is pitting, and about 7 or 8 cars had not pitted, and then the caution comes out. Jimmy Johnson stayed out, and he got very lucky. It helped his not so much because I think a lot of what Jimmy Johnson's struggles was, clean air. He was so far back there in the dirty air, he really couldn't do anything. So what happens, Jimmy Johnson, he gets up there and he sticks in the top 10. He finishes 6th. So call it what it is.
You were hating on him. I'm sorry. And then he ended up in the top 10.
Let's be honest. If he would have pitted, then he wouldn't have been in that situation. But he did. He got lucky. Give them credit. That's exactly why they stayed out.
I don't know if you call it lucky. It's called pit strategy. It's part of the game. So you got to give it to his crew chief for finally maybe doing something good. Pit strategy.
Yeah, I'll give them credit. William Byron, he faded quite a bit. He finished 20th. Was definitely expecting the opposite out of him too, but I think Jimmy Johnson will take it. Eric Jones. So how about this? Let's talk about Ricky Stenhouse versus Alex Bowman. I tweeted it out. Them two looked like it was going to come down, final 3 laps, and we were going to have a Ricky Stenhouse, Alex Bowman competition. That's what I thought at one point. So what was your thoughts on Ricky Stenhouse's race? Because he flashed some muscle. Obviously, he finished 11th, but I think those old tires finally gave in for him near the end. What did you think of Ricky Stenhouse's race?
It happens when you go to a track like that. If you keep betting on those old tires, trying to do good on them, and you're eventually just going to fall back. You're not going to have the grip. Overall, for the race, I mean, it was a good race for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I mean, I enjoyed seeing him up there. I mean, like I said, just a good overall race. It definitely wasn't the finish he was expecting. I mean, I thought it was, like I said, just a good race for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I think that team needed it. I think, they kind of started the season off a little bit stronger, and they've kind of fell off. And maybe this is a race to get kind of back in the swing of things.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Eric Jones in 3rd, I think he really needed it. And, let's talk about, speaking of Eric Jones, Brad Keselowski obviously won. And I don't really think you can go, leaps and bounds talking about Brad Keselowski because, I mean, they played the pit game right. They came in and got tires and Alex Bowman just couldn't hold him off. I mean, those tires ruled. And, I seen people take 2 tires. Blaney took 2 tires at one point. He fell to the back. Give Keselowski and them credit. They came in. They didn't have the track position, but what happened? They passed those cars and got in position to win. But now let's talk about at the end of the race. Eric Jones, Clint Bowyer. This is something to keep an eye on as we, All-Star race weekend this coming week. It's just for money. So maybe he gets his payback. But Eric Jones, I think it was the last lap or 2 laps ago. I'm not really sure. I think it was the last lap. But Eric Jones just comes flying out of the mid-screen. Like flying out, he was on the top lane. Here comes Bowyer, gets a great run. And Eric Jones just blocks him. It's a pure block. And it was crazy.
I think in that incident that Bowyer should have just dumped him. I mean, that's racing right there. If you've got a few laps left and you put a block on someone, it's the run that Clint Bowyer had. Clint Bowyer should have just dumped him. I mean, yeah, it might have caused a few other cars to wreck or whatever, but that's what you get. That the kid, Eric Jones, I'm not necessarily. He's kind of younger. He's not been there as long as Clint Bowyer had. He's got to learn his lesson at some point. Sometimes you just can't do things like that. I know you want to get a good position, but Clint Bowyer did him a favor by not putting him in the wall. I think he should have. And Clint Bowyer would have had a better finish. I mean, Clint Bowyer still came out with a good finish, but Clint Bowyer would have had a better finish if Eric Jones wouldn't have did that.
So you're in the ballpark of saying that you're saying that Eric Jones shouldn't have blocked him,
No.
So you just let Clint Bowyer go by, and you potentially lose a couple more spots.
I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying Clint Bowyer should have put him in the wall.
But do you agree? So if you're in Eric Jones's position, are you just going to let him go? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask you. Is he in the right in blocking?
Well, there comes – I mean, I know there's only a few laps left, but there comes a point where there's a little kind of driver courtesy. Like
I think it was the last lap.
I know, but Clint Bowyer had a huge run. And, I mean, yes, probably I would have tried to put a block on, but I expect to be put in the wall because I tried that. I mean, that's a gutsy move. And we know that Clint Bowyer's been caught up in some stuff before where he's put people in the wall before. What was it, him and Jeff Gordon, or was it him and Matt Kenseth a few years back?
Yeah, it was him and Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon
several times.
Yeah, I mean, I still, I tweeted that GIF, whatever you want to call it, at Joe Gibbs Racing, where Clint Bowyer takes off in the garage area and he's chasing after Jeff Gordon, his crew, which is an all-time moment at Phoenix, ISM, whatever you want to call it. But here's my view on it. I'm with you on this. I think Clint Bowyer, I think he should have just sent him flying is what I put on Twitter. Obviously I don't want to see him fly and anything, but Eric Jones, I think this is what part of the problem was. In turn 3 and 4, I think he may have blocked him just a tad bit. And then what happens again? Clint Bowyer gets another run and he gets blocked again. So I'm pretty sure he's already at that point pissed. But if I'm Bowyer, I'm just going to run right into his back bumper. Hopefully he just goes flying, not flying, but he goes wrecking. And it's not his fault. I mean, it's not Clint Bowyer's fault at the end of the day. And if Eric Jones is pissed, then he should have blocked him. That's racing. We could obviously say, well, blocking is the right move, and that's racing. Both of them are racing moves. I'm not gonna fault Eric Jones blocking on the last lap, obviously, but Clint Bowyer, I thought Clint Bowyer may potentially steal a win there because he had the freshest tires. He should have finished second, if I'm being honest. Clint Bowyer should have finished second, but he finished fifth.
Clint Bowyer said he should have finished second if it wouldn't have been for Eric Jones.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Even in contention for the win.
Yeah, I mean, he had a chance. I think he would have had a great chance going into turn 3 and 4, but it is what it is, and we can't see that, but both are racing moves. Clint Bowyer, he does have a tendency to complain a bit. But listen, This race was so good. We had a great final stage, and we have some confrontations. I'll take it. That's awesome for us. We have a brewing rivalry. Maybe, who knows?
It's if we do have a rivalry, we'll know that it can only be good for the sport. So,
yep, exactly.
So you put a debate out on Twitter.
Well, judging by the results, I don't think it's much of a debate at this point.
I'm talking about the chicken. That's what that's we're talking about the chicken, not that one. Or are you talking about the chicken?
No, I guess we can talk about that.
Let's talk about the chicken.
So, whenever I put a poll up, they had a Chick-fil-A cart at the Kansas infield. It was a brilliant idea, by the way. I'm sure that thing was packed, and I expect to see something like that at Bristol when I go to the night race. But anyway, I put a poll up, Chick-fil-A, Bojangles, Popeyes, and Zaxby's. Apparently, Zaxby's is not known anywhere but the South. I quickly have learned that. Popeyes, I think it's a little bit more Southern too. But then it came down to Bojangles and it came down to Chick-fil-A, and it was not much of a poll. Chick-fil-A won by like 55%. I think Bojangles had 20-some%. But anyway, that brings me to you. You're the chicken expert of this podcast. I think you live off chicken. I think if chicken was not a food, I don't think you would be sitting here talking with me right now. So I'm going to throw it off to you. Bojangles or Chick-fil-A? I want to hear the differences. If you've not, I have a kind of tendency to think you may have not had the Bojangles Cajun filet biscuit. I think that's my personal favorite. But let's hear your side of this. I'm sure you're going to pick Chick-fil-A, but the floor is yours.
Well, Chick-fil-A versus Bojangle, they're two really. I mean, it's chicken, but they're different kind of styles of chicken. Chick-fil-A, of course, you can get chicken strips or you can get chicken bites, or you can get a chicken sandwich, all of which is hand breaded in store. Okay, then you get the waffle fries that come with it, the delicious waffle fries, and of course your choices of dipping sauce. You go to Bojangles, you get chicken supreme, chicken biscuit. Do they have a chicken sandwich, Josh?
At Bojangles?
Yes.
I do not think so. I think their main thing is biscuits only.
Yeah, I didn't think they did a chicken sandwich. Well, and then they have almost like they've got fries. Are they like kind of a steak fry, you would say?
Yes.
They're like a steak fry. Definitely kind of a Southern style. They're not like necessarily like Popeyes, like Louisiana style, but they got a little Cajun to everything. Their chicken's got a little spice to it. Their fries has always got a little Cajun seasoning. You don't get that when you go to Chick-fil-A. In my opinion, Bojangles I don't think they're hand personally in store. I really don't think they are.
I do not have enough info to comment on that.
I don't think they are. And that's kind of why I like Chick-fil-A better. I think the chicken's a little bit more fresh. They hand batter their stuff, I know, in store. Then they got the waffle fries. Don't get me wrong, Bojangles is really good. It's just, you're always going to get fresh food when you go to Chick-fil-A. And they just got good quality chicken, good fries. Bojangles fries, I think, are hit and miss sometimes. As much as I love Cajun and Cajun seasoning, but sometimes I've went there and their stuff's been hit or miss. Normally, when I go to Chick-fil-A, unless it's a fake Chick-fil-A, like we have some Chick-fil-A's on campus, their expresses no go, they're terrible. But an actual Chick-fil-A, I've never been like not impressed with one or dissatisfied. I've been to Bojangles and been dissatisfied before.
Okay, so I think here just a little quick debate here. If you're going for breakfast, I know you're not a big breakfast person, but if you're going for breakfast, are you picking Chick-fil-A over Bojangles?
That's a tough one because Bojangles, I will say this, Bojangles have some delicious biscuits. Does that convince me to go with Bojangles for breakfast? Probably not. If I'm going to get breakfast from a chicken place, I'm probably going to Chick-fil-A to get Chick-fil-A minis.
Wow.
That
So you're taking the minis over the Cajun filet biscuit.
I've never had the Cajun filet biscuit though, so
Wow.
that's
Now,
kind of where I'm
now
having a problem where I'm commenting on that.
yeah, this is a game changer. If you've never had the Cajun filet biscuit from I don't want to say Chick-fil-A, why would I even say it? From Bojangles, something is wrong. You live in the South and you have never had a Cajun filet biscuit, which I'm
Well,
gonna give
it's
it.
because
People out west and people up north. I'm not sure if Bojangles is a thing up north or out west, but down south, I know Georgia and North Carolina and most of Tennessee, Bojangles is almost a religion for breakfast.
well, I'm not much of a breakfast person. If I have breakfast, it's normally bacon or cereal. You don't
Yep.
get you don't get me you don't get me venturing out much from bacon or cereal for breakfast. I just rather have normally it's because I'm eating chicken for lunch or dinner. That's why I don't have it for breakfast.
So you're going with Chick-fil-A for breakfast and you're going Chick-fil-A for dinner. I'll agree with you on dinner. I'm not too big of a fan of their dinner menu, lunch menu. But if we're talking breakfast, I'm taking that Cajun filet biscuit all day. Screw the chicken minis. It's just not the same. That Cajun seasoning is amazing. Now obviously they got Cajun on their dinner items, but I just don't think it's the same. And especially the bow rounds with the Cajun filet biscuit.
What are bow rounds? Tell me what bow rounds are. Are they just like hash
So
browns?
it's basically a mixture of hash browns and onion rings is the best way to explain it.
That kind of
Uh,
sounds disgusting, but something I would try.
it's awesome. But I think if you got anything to add on that, I think we have basically came to a conclusion. Bojangles for breakfast, Chick-fil-A for dinner, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree.
I can get behind that.
All right. So that brings us to our next topic. And if I'm not mistaken, that brings us to the other Twitter poll.
The other Twitter poll. Yes, do you want to explain that real quick?
Okay, so a couple of hours ago, I put out a Twitter poll on our Twitter, obviously. And basically I was asking if you own a team in the Monster Energy Cup Series, you have to sign a driver to a 5-year contract. Who do you choose? And the options were Tyler Reddick, Austin Dillon, or Daniel Hemric. And obviously you would think, well, if you're the owner of Richard Childress Racing, But, it has me thinking. So I started looking at it, and I started looking at some of the stats, and it's kind of amazing. I don't know if people are too familiar with Daniel Hemric's background, but so Daniel Hemric, and if someone out there is listening and they want to comment, feel free. But I'm looking at racingreference.info, so the website that everyone's familiar with. So NASCAR Willen Southern Modified Tour, he did not have any wins. Willen Modified Tour, he has 0 wins. K&N Pro Series East, 0 wins. NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series, 0 wins. Xfinity Series, 0 wins. And Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, 0 wins.
Tell me why he's in the sport again.
I'm not really sure. I knew he had some impressive races in Xfinity, and I'll give him that. But obviously, he was in superior equipment. But he's going to be last on my list, and I'm kind of shocked that he has 15% compared to Austin Dillon's 13%. I think Austin Dillon, he does get a bad rap for being Richard Childress's grandson, but I think if you look at Tyler Reddick, Daniel Hemric compared to him, he blows not Tyler Reddick, he blows Daniel Hemric's stats out of the water. Let me just go through the Xfinity series. He has 9 wins in Xfinity compared to 0 of Daniel Hemric. He has 7 wins in the Gander Outdoor Truck Series. He has 1 win in Pro Series East and K&N, but I think it's just a little bit different. He was born 1 year before Daniel Hemric. So before people say, well, Daniel Hemric's the younger driver and whatnot, not really. He's only one year younger than Austin Dillon. And that brings me to Tyler Reddick finally to round out. His stuff might not be, great either, but let's just go through it. 0 wins in ARCA. Can-Am Pro Series East, he has 1 win. Gander Outdoor Truck Series, 3 wins. Xfinity, he has 4 wins, and he has an Xfinity Series championship. So I'm going to ask you, how did Daniel Hemric get promoted last year after his teammate won the Xfinity Series?
Well, based off what you told me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all, in my honesty. Why would Daniel Hemric, who has zero wins, get get a ride like that over someone like Tyler Reddick, who has a decent resume in NASCAR, in Xfinity Series, and in the Truck Series,
and just won the Xfinity Series championship over his teammate, may I add, Daniel Hemric. It blows my mind.
The only thing that I can think of,
and let me add this: he was 5 years younger too.
The only thing I can think of, and I will, and you'd have to do some research into this, would have to be sponsorship problems. There might be some high up organization or that Daniel Hemric has ties to that will sponsor Daniel Hemric instead of Tyler Reddick. That's the only logical thing that makes mind in my sense, that maybe Daniel Hemric knows someone within Caterpillar or something like that that would rather sponsor him over, say, Tyler Reddick. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's the only close logical thing that I can think of. I mean, could you see that? Would it be a sponsorship thing?
Has to be. It has to be that, because when you look at it, Daniel Hemric drove the 21 South Point Casino, which, if I'm not mistaken, South Point, Brendan Gaughan, I think Brendan Gaughan's a co-owner of that. He may be the owner of that. Brendan Gaughan used to drive the RCR cars back in the day for them before he decided to move on and retire. But Daniel Hemric at Caterpillar, it's not surprising, but, Caterpillar, Bass Pro Shops, he has that Smoky Mountain Brewery too. So you have to be right on this. There's just no logical explanation of why a guy that's 5 years younger has won an Xfinity Series championship and has won more races in NASCAR, NASCAR Series, than the guy that's driving a Cup car right now. It just doesn't make any sense. When you think about it, I looked at Twitter after the race, and all I could see was, how does Daniel Hemric not have, or how does Tyler Reddick not have a Cup car, a full-time Cup car ride? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Everybody wants it. Our Richard Childress, he's a pretty respectable guy. I was driving home this past week, and I was listening to the Richard Childress and Dale Jr. podcast, the one he did earlier in the year, and he was talking about all the Dale Earnhardt stories and all that. And it was just mind-blowing to me, because this guy's been around so long. He's made so many great decisions. Dale Earnhardt and him will forever be connected. And, he had Kevin Harvick take that spot from Dale Earnhardt. And, Richard Childress has been a pretty strategical guy. And this might be the what were you thinking moment. Obviously he's got his grandson, and we're not going to argue if Austin Dillon should have a full-time seat or not. He was going to get that regardless. But to me, to not have Tyler Reddick, and RCR used to be a 3-car organization. Now, I think this might be where you have a point, because I think maybe Daniel Hemric, him being in the RCR camp for so long, I think maybe he was promised a ride, and then Tyler Reddick goes out there and wins the championship, which caught everyone off guard. So I think there may have been a promise somewhere in there that he was going to get promoted when Ryan Newman left. I think that could have been before the year even, started. But
well, at least I know this. Richard Childress is a straight businessman. I mean, he's really good at business. So there's more than likely there's some sort of business. This is a business driven decision to have Daniel Hemric. We might not see it from the outside. He might be seeing it and reaping the benefits from it. But I wouldn't say Richard Childress is going to do anything to necessarily put his company at risk. I mean, everything he does is he has his business in mind. And I think this is a business decision that more than likely has to do with sponsorship. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think at this point, he's going to have to move to a 3-car team. He has to, or they're going to lose Tyler Reddick. Because, I mean, you're not going to make Tyler Reddick stay hostage again. Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell, them two are ready to be in the Cup Series. And, that brings us back to the conversation we were having last week. We have all these talented drivers and not enough Cup rides. You tell me, what's going to happen here? Because there's no way you're going to keep Daniel Hemric in that 8-car and see Tyler Reddick possibly, more than likely, win another Xfinity Series championship if he can overcome Christopher Bell.
Do I see RCR going to three-car team? If they can secure sponsorship, yes. I mean, they've did it before. Do I think that will happen? Probably not. I don't know if RCR can secure that funding. I mean, if they have a sponsor, there's a chance of it. I don't know off the top of my head which numbers. I don't know if he still has the 31 charter or not. I guess he could be the third. I guess he could be the 31. Yeah, they still have the 31 charter. They could if they have sponsorship. I don't unless that's something I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, I think the 31 turned into the 8.
Yes, but that means the 31 charter still exists. I mean, I say RCR still owns it. I mean, yes, 31 turned to the 8. They just switched cars. RCR got the rights to the 8.
So I was looking at it, and it just came off. I don't know why I didn't think of this, but do you remember who Tyler Reddick was with before RCR? It was Junior Motorsports.
Yep.
So he moves over there in his first year, and he wins the Xfinity Series championship. So here's what I think, and I'm gonna stick to this. I think Daniel Hemric was promised the ride when they were not going to renew Ryan Newman's contract, and I think he was promised the ride before the season started. Or maybe during the season, and they didn't expect Tyler Reddick to, perform this well. That's what I think has happened. And, I think obviously you can't just RCR, Richard Childress is a man of his word. He's not going to say, hey, we're moving on to this guy. He's got to honor a promise. And I think that's what happened. Because I think, when he switched from Junior Motorsports over to RCR, I don't think they was expecting that amount of success that early.
Yep. But I believe we'll take this into our next segment of the show. It's All-Star Weekend. That means there's no points on the table, no nothing. So this is an all-out money, winner-take-all kind of money thing for the drivers. And this is also kind of a test session for NASCAR. But we'll hint on that. But All-Star Weekend. You excited, Josh?
I'm very excited because, I've talked about this all year with this new package. Last year, they debuted this package, and it was at the All-Star race. And this, if you remember correctly, this All-Star race was awesome. I was very excited because, we just had different leaders going left and right, and it brought me hope for this mile-and-a-half program, this year. And, I think, what you've seen at Kansas this past week, you're going to see even better racing. I think you may have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think NASCAR is even tweaking the package this week to better the racing. I'm trying to find it right now, but let's see.
I wouldn't doubt they're doing that. I mean,
so it looks like damn, where was it at? They're doing something. we're looking forward to bringing two major elements that we're looking at and evaluating for a Gen 7 car. President of Racing Innovation, John Probst, told NASCAR.com, "This will be a good chance for us to see this in real race conditions." So, yeah, it's basically what you said. It's going to be a test session for this Gen 7 car. Now, how well that's going to work with this car, I'm not really sure. He goes on to say, nowadays we have a flat splitter that has the teams chasing control of their ride heights a lot, which gets pretty expensive. It also makes the sweet spot, if you will, for the setup narrow. It will be very visible to folks watching at home on TV or in the stands. The whole idea behind this is actually just trying to open up the window for a good setup. So, it goes on to say the second all-star element requires cars be configured with a radiator exit duct through the hood. This will separate aerodynamic performance and engine temperatures, creating more parity across the field. So, if what they're saying is true, we are going to see basically all 20 cars have a chance at winning this.
That's our hope. Will that happen?
I don't know. Who knows? But here's the question I am going to ask you: how much time do we have left? Because I want to go further into this.
We've got about 5 to 6 minutes left.
Okay, we're good. So, it was me and you, and we're on the last lap. You got $1 million on the line. Say there was 3 or 4 cars. Me, you, and 2 of our buddies. You're in 4th, you're in 3rd or 2nd. You pick. So if you're in 2nd place on the last lap, turn 4, what are you doing for $1 million?
If I'm sitting in 1st, I'm blocking. I mean, or either I'm blocking or I'm running my line. But if I'm sitting,
what are you doing in 2nd?
If I'm sitting in 2nd, $1 million on the line, and I've got a chance, there's no points on the line. If I got a chance to take out that person in front of me, that person's going in the wall. Bump and run, whatever it has to be. I mean, I'm going for the $1 million, whatever it has to be. If I have to get into a fight with a guy afterward, victory lane, that's okay. I just won $1 million. Points don't matter when it comes to this race.
Yeah, and you also better hope the 3rd and 4th place car give you a good push.
You right? Or give you a good. I mean, if they're that close behind and they'll give me a good push, let's go for it. What would
So
you?
You're saying,
well, continue.